Hey everyone, I hope you guys had an amazing Christmas celebration for those who are celebrating. And in the next few days, we're going to be celebrating going into 2021. What a crazy year, but I'm super excited to get in there. We're going to cover a few things in this video. Firstly, I've been missing for about 3 weeks for a number of reasons, so I'm going to go into that. I haven't really posted or released any content. I've got some scheduled videos and all that, but I've essentially been MIA. We'll go through that. More importantly, we're going to talk about the Udemy course. I'm going to do a complete overhaul. That means refilming pretty much every single video, looking at the structure of the course in its entirety, taking rubbish out, putting new content in, putting the things that you guys have requested in there to make sure you're learning what you want to learn. So we're going to go through all of that. For those who've purchased it, you don't have to do anything extra. You're going to get it for free. For those who haven't purchased it, I'm going to show you how to get your hands on it, but to avoid the full fee cost because it's usually priced at it's priced at 130 at the moment, but I'll show you how to get a discount later on and we can cover all that. So for now, let's get into the first thing, which is why I've been missing. Well, I've been working at a company that I've been working at for a number of years, and we are finishing off a long 5-6 year project that we've been working on, and it is just crazy, just trying to get it done before 2021. And happy to say it is getting there. And the thing was, I was simply just overworked, because I was working on my work stuff. On top of that, at the end of the day, I'll be working on, all the YouTube stuff, all the Udemy, Skillshare, amongst other business ventures and investing and all that kind of stuff. And it just took a toll on the body. The neck started to give up a little bit. Good news is I've been going to the physio, doing all my training and everything. I'm back to normal. So this is why I want to get straight back into this work. So that's that. In terms of Udemy and the course, and this is kind of like gonna overlap into Skillshare as well. So a lot of these topics, I'm gonna create kind of Skillshare style courses as well, because I know not everyone is on Udemy. Some people are on Skillshare, and I like both platforms, so I want to be able to teach on both. So let's get into what's going to happen. So this is the Udemy course itself. It's huge. I think it's like 22 hours. It's massive. And believe it or not, I'm going to add even more. So it may be double that. I don't know. It's going to be massive. All these videos are going to be refilmed, redone, with better recording equipment, better sound, better structures, better teaching methods, all that kind of stuff. Because when I filmed this in mid 2019 to late 2019. I think it was July, August. I started filming this, started designing it earlier in 2019. It took about 6 months to put the whole thing together. When it came out, I wasn't completely happy with the structure. There was a lot of things I wanted to add, and there was a lot of, I want to say complaints. There was a few complaints here and there. A lot of comments of like, can you please add this? That I didn't like that topic, or I didn't like the layout, or it's confusing. Why would you teach that first? A lot of input like that, which is fantastic because then I know what to create for you guys. So I took all of that, and then what I'm looking at is all the new stuff that I'm thinking to teach for 2021. Like I said, anyone who's already got the Udemy course, let me bring it over here. Anyone who's already got this Udemy course, you don't have to pay anything extra. Originally, I was like, should I build a fresh course, just start with a clean slate? But I really didn't want students, especially those, with how everything went this year, with money being tight and everything. I don't want everyone to have to fork out additional money. This isn't about making heat on it. This is about learning how to use a BI tool for a better life, right? Better life for yourself, your family, your colleagues, your business, whatever it might be. So that's kind of the idea. So let's go through some of the topics, right? Um, I was considering, Tableau onto itself of here's how you do a bar chart, here's how you do a line chart. That's like 2% of the entire Tableau journey, right? The ultimate goal for me when I think of Tableau or BI, any BI, Power BI, whatever you want to use, Domo, doesn't matter, right? The goal is to advance technology where you work, right? Or where you operate or the business you own. Because what I've seen in the industry is we're not quite there. There's some companies that are really good at self-service analytics, that are good with their data. And I'm talking general handling, not the IT division. I'm talking about general population, relatively good analytical skills. But most are not. A lot of them are not, surprisingly. And I started thinking, what's the best way to teach how to go from an Excel based corporation, which most companies are, to becoming a self-service analytics corporation, right? And that's a pretty big journey. That can take years and years and years, a lot of financial investment, a lot of time investment, a lot of knowledge, expertise. It doesn't happen overnight, and it's not easy, right? But it is possible because I've done it. So, um, the things I also want to teach that are in addition to Tableau are Microsoft Excel. That's right. I'm thinking of adding Microsoft Excel into this training primarily to help with some basic data cleansing that is better to do in Excel rather than maybe Tableau Prep or Tableau Desktop or stuff like that. And also for data storage. A lot of the times when you're starting, you don't have a storage system like a server or anything like that. So you got to start small and scale up. So things like Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Access is great for storing larger bits of data. I'm I'm gonna put this in yellow. Ultrix, I know a lot of people like Ultrix and they've been excited, teach more Ultrix. And I started a course on Udemy, but it's not easy to teach Ultrix. Uh, and also Tableau at the same time. But now I'm thinking I'll combine the two. Ultrix is really great for data cleansing and machine learning. Um, and I'm thinking there are some elements of that that can help with the Tableau component. Google Sheets, again, another way of data storage, and then some PowerPoint, really basic stuff I was going to add in, nothing crazy, right? I'm going to skip this column for the moment. We're going to go to the next one. Let me zoom in a bit. So I've kind of put them into kind of categories. So professional analytics, um, the Tableau solution lifecycle. So it's not just about here's a bar chart, here's a line chart, publish a dashboard, and then that's it. There's an actual life cycle of development. And there's creating dashboards and there's creating solutions. And there's a big difference. Anyone can create a dashboard, but those who get paid the most, those that become senior analysts, senior programmers, citizen data science, data scientists, those people, they understand life cycle. How do you create a solution fit for purpose for someone specifically and for that solution to live on after you're gone? That's not easy, but there is a blueprint that I will teach you on how to manage that entire thing, a checklist and all that kind of stuff. Training others in Tableau is very important in an organization when you want to get it started, because it doesn't matter how good you are in Tableau, if no one else is using it, it's not going to grow. You need to start developing other people to be able to solve their own problems, to support them, and give all the resources they need to get really good as well. So it starts with one person, but ultimately you got to move as a unit, as a family, right? Con Convincing your company to go with Tableau. So this is kind of like pricing analysis. How do you convince them from a project rollout point of view? So what's the total cost of implementation? How do you look at the hierarchy? How do you look at the setup? How do you look at the training price? How do you look at the resources? How do you get it rolled out? Because it's easy to be like, hey, let's just buy 1,000 licenses and see what happens. But that very rarely works. So how do you roll it out from a pricing point of view as well? Project management techniques and tracking. So Tableau is not just for data analytics. You can use it to track your business. You can use it to track a project. You can look at timelines. You can look at anomalies. You can look at gaps, KPIs, a lot of that kind of stuff. But this is more primarily in project management training. Okay, you can develop things, but if it's not within resource and budget and time and all that, you can't deliver it, right? You're just not going to make it, right? So that's very important. Um, Self-service analytics, the whole concept of how that works. Self-service analytics is about empowering others to be able to get the information that they want, perform the analytics that they want, and to do it easily. Generally, what's happened in the industry in the past is we've got a data request problem. Okay, let's call up IT and go, hey, here's the data, here's what we want to do, go solve it. We'll throw 20,000, 100,000, whatever money at you, give me a solution back. And that into the future is not going to work anymore. We've seen it. The industry knows it. it just is not going to work moving forward because everyone now is asking for data requests. The number of requests to IT is growing rapidly every year. The way to solve that, or the way that I guess IT sometimes thinks to solve that, is to simply get more people to develop things. But eventually, you just can't hire any more people, right? And then the cost of deployment and design, it adds up, and you really don't need to spend that kind of money. Probably out of all the requests, maybe 10 to 20% you need specialists. Someone who really knows how to design stuff, the Tableau gurus and all that kind of stuff. And they usually know more than Tableau. They know servers, they know cloud computing, they know machine learning. They're able to put the whole thing together. For basic daily work, anyone can learn how to do it themselves. Um, Adobe Spark for visual analytics and styling. This is more for like artisticness. So it'll be me showing you how to get, stock photos, how to do your own styling so that when you build dashboard, it doesn't always look like the same formatted dashboard. You can give it a bit of style. Okay, moving on to the next one. So I call this personal analytics. Very important. I think especially in this year, in 2020, just the craziness of what's happened this year. I think in March and April, when they looked at YouTube stats, the amount of views on personal finance skyrocketed. It went crazy. Makes sense, with what happened with the coronavirus and everything happening. A lot of uncertainty in the industry, in personal life, and all that. You want to take stock of, well, how much do I have? How long can I live for? Can I feed my family? All that kind of stuff. And if you've never thought about it before, when the coronavirus happens and you're forced to think about it, that's when it's hardest, I guess, to think about it because you're under stress, you're trying to work it out. Um, so personal finance has been near and dear to my heart. I help a lot of other people with that kind of stuff as well. Obviously, I got no legal training. This is more just practical daily stuff that I've learned that works for me. I have to say it's for entertainment purposes for YouTube. But if you can get something out of it, that's great. So things that I do in my personal life is, personal finance, tracking my spending and tracking how I allocate resources and money and all that kind of stuff. Stocks, investing, retirement. I love talking about this stuff. Even you know what I should add tax, but I can obviously only do Australian, as you can tell by my accent, my Australian accent. Um, or I think I got my American accent going because I'm Filipino. So, anyways, there's a whole story to that. Holiday planning. So let's say not even holiday planning. Let's say wedding planning or I don't know whatever it is you're planning to try and figure out all the numbers. So let's say even just a really fancy party, right? So how do you go, well, how much is this all gonna cost? Right? How are we gonna go over budget? It's like, all right, we're gonna do $20,000 for a wedding or 50,000 or whatever. If you're Puff Daddy, it's $3 million. I hope Puff Daddy has Tableau. Otherwise, it's like he'd be going over budget. But that kind of stuff you can do. That's stuff I do in my personal life. I always analyze things instead of just kind of going in and hoping for the best. The next one is like buying a house. A lot of things you can do with buying a house. Things like, calculating the equity of the house, where you're going to buy. You can do geographical, geospatial analysis of certain areas. So, for example, let's say I'm thinking of buying either an investment property, let's say investment property in a particular area. I can get the data for that area, look at the general housing prices, right? And go, well, how much would I generally have to pay? Um, or how much would the house cost relative to some of the other areas? What are geographically, how far is, the school? How far is the supermarket? What is the historic price growth over 30 years in that area or whatever it might be. There's a lot of things you can do with that as well that I've done in the past. This one is a pretty big one. And I have for any, hang on, I think my Excel has frozen on me. But for any bankers out there, I don't blame bankers, all right? I just don't like banks with the way the system's been set up. That's a whole nother thing. If you want me to rant on about how much I hate like banking institutions and all that kind of stuff, that's a whole nother thing. But this is really more for, I've heard so many freak stories, friends, family, even strangers about like, oh, I got into debt, I don't know how to get out. And surprisingly, for me, analytics helped a lot because sometimes when you don't know how bad it is, you don't even want to look at it. You're just like, whatever, I just hope it goes away. But a lot of the times, I think once you're able to frame the problem and be like, hey, listen, let's do some math, let's do some visual analytics and be like, hey, all right, this is how much you make, right? This is how much debt you have. This is the interest rate that it's happening. And if you spend this much money over this much time, by the time it reaches 6 months, you're free. You're debt free, right? And then I'll also give a lot of books and resources to help with that kind of stuff as well. Because obviously, again, I'm not trained specifically to give financial help and all that, but I do read a hell of a lot of books on this kind of stuff, on investing in stocks and buying houses and all that kind of stuff, which I just find super nerdy, fascinating. And then the next one is like tax in Australia. So things like, getting tax deductions, understanding how much you pay. Surprisingly, I think a lot of people don't even know how tax works. That's a whole nother thing. But a lot of that you can do visual analytics and be like, well, if I earn this much, where is that going to go? Or if I put a deduction, what's that going to look like? And a lot of that you can build dashboards and calculators for and all sorts of things. All right. So I'm not going to spend too much more time on that. Career analytics. This was a big one. I got a lot of requests about this, about how this kind of works in the industry. So I have a lot of friends or even people that I've trained that have gone on to get like jobs, or even people like on YouTube and stuff told me their stories and all that of like how they went about it, what the interview process is actually like, getting a job, working as an analyst. What's it actually like? So I'm gonna give some points on that, how to do your like career planning and kind of where you can go. So Tableau, or even not even Tableau, if you're good at Excel, like really good at Excel, you can pretty much work anywhere. And the reason is in this day and age, and I didn't necessarily see this coming, that in this day and age, I don't know any division, I don't know any company, I don't know any business venture whatsoever that doesn't use data. This doesn't exist, right? Everyone uses data on some form. And the thing is, you can be good at a particular field. So let's say you're an expert in logistics. Great. Okay. So you're moving, what's that, stock of something, right? Or like parts or whatever it might be. And that's great. You can maybe understand the logistical side, but if you add in the data side, there's so much you can do. And there's a massive demand for just being able to be good with data in the industry. And I know this for a fact because every division or every group that I've been into, or I've talked to, like TV channel companies, banks, what else? I'm trying to remember all the other ones. Banks, like manufacturing companies, early childhood companies, training companies, universities, insurance, super. There's all these industries, and they're all like drowning in data. So if you're good at data, man, the world is your oyster now. So we'll talk about that. Tableau certification. I'm gonna do a whole component on that. I never got to finish it on the last one. I don't know how valuable Tableau certification really is because I don't really meet a lot of people when it comes to interviewing or a thing going, can you show me your certification? It's sort of like when you graduate high school. After you get your first job, nobody cares about your GPA anymore, and after you get your next job, coming out of uni, nobody really asks about your score there either. So I don't know how good it is. It's probably just like good to gauge where you are skill wise and the gaps in your learning. Maybe I personally felt like I never really needed it, but see how other people feel. So talk about that interview process. Interview process. We're going to talk about like kind of the things that I hear primarily for interviews. So I don't interview all the time, right? But I have interviewed people for roles for Tableau and analytics and that kind of stuff. And it's very rarely, if they give you a Tableau problem, right? It's like, oh, here, build a visualization thing of this or whatever. It's very rare that it's like, if you don't solve it, we're not going to hire you. It's not really that. What we're interested in seeing is how do you go about solving a problem? And sometimes the problems they give you are not solvable in the period of time they give you because we're not testing if you can solve the problem. We're testing how do you approach problems and solve them. right? If you're applying for a Tableau developer role, generally speaking, you're going to be kind of a lot higher in pay grade. So there's a higher expectation that we're not going to have to supervise you the whole time. We should just be able to go, here's the problem, here's what I want you to be able to figure out, off you go, right? So we're going to talk about all of that. Tableau pathways we already talked about. Stories from my students. So I haven't got this in a repository anywhere, but anything where people have told me their stories of, I was jobless and now I've got this and that. Like, I would love to hear stories like that of, possibly how data has changed your life. So if you got some of those stories, feel free to just send them over. I'd love to hear about them, even feature them on the Udemy course, make you a star, right? Okay, so the next one is Tableau Revolution Planning. This basically is, how do you take a company from zero to being self-service analytics? And there's kind of a lot of steps, a lot of learnings, a lot of experience I've had in trying to do this. Things like, corporate rollout. How do you get seniors to buy into the product? How do you yep. The next one is the current state of things in the industry. So it's always good to know where the industry is at. What are the new developments? What are the new technologies? Not just in Tableau, in a lot of different areas. And man, it's so exciting at the moment with all the things that they can do. Like, it's almost like every week there's a machine learning breakthrough of new things that they can do with computers and data. It's just mind blowing. Um, Transitioning from Excel to Tableau, Tableau on a budget, the one license rollout. So this is crazy. You can actually create a revolution or start a revolution with a single license. You just need to know how to maximize the use of the license and all the things that come with that license. It took me a while to figure out how to do it. And I haven't really seen any other courses that talk about this. Actually, I don't even really hear a lot of courses talking about, corporate rollout, like the whole process. A lot of the times, here's how you use Tableau, here's a hierarchy, here's a dashboard, here are the features, so on and so forth. All right, so it doesn't really talk about the enterprise application of a BI suite. Yep. Okay. Last is this one. This one is massive. All right. These are case studies that I've been looking at and reading and planning. And basically, what it is um, with the things that you learn in the course, right? Once you've, I guess, just at this point, you've done the beginner, intermediate, and expert, let's say, sections, and then it's like, okay, let's go solve real problems. So I'm going to give you data sets. Sometimes they're clean, sometimes they're dirty, sometimes it's multiple data sets, sometimes there's errors. Once you get into the real world of data, everything's a mess. And if anyone ever tells you, it's like, oh, Jed, we want you to build this thing and we've got data and it's super clean. Anyone who says super clean, just like, tell them to go away because there's no such thing. I've very rarely gotten data that is clean, right? You always have to you clean it up or set it up or get clarification or something because when data is massive, you get human error, right? Anyways, so I'm gonna have data sets like that, and I'm gonna give you the challenge of I want you to build this. So you are going to be the Tableau developer. I'm going to be the client, and I'm gonna be like, listen, I'm gonna pay you X number of dollars. Here's what I want you to build, right? And I'm gonna show you the process of how you actually create the dashboards, build a solution for your client as for each of these, right? So for example, let's say you're doing a project timeline. I'm commissioning you to build a timeline management system or a tool to manage my team. Here's the data. There might be supplementary data or it might be incomplete data. I had a recent problem to solve for a legal team. And the problem was they wanted to analyze things in multiple continents, but they didn't have all the data from all the continents yet, but they still wanted a prototype. So how do you think about scaling up a design with data you don't have yet? That is tricky, right? Because you don't know what it's going to look like. You don't know the structure. But learning to consult with someone of like, these are the fields you're interested in. This is what you want to know. These are the questions you're trying to answer. Then this is generally the structure I expect to see for the data that's going to be coming. Some of that's experience. Some of that you'll actually learn, right? And from there you can build something that can replicate um, what is what the dashboard is going to look like moving forward, how to manage the dashboard, how much work is involved in maintaining it, updating the data, all that kind of stuff. Anyways, so there's heaps of examples here, and I'm adding to this every now and then. So if there is a particular topic you want me to cover, or a case study, or real data, send it through and we'll make a case study out of it. So you can probably already tell all of this, in addition to all of this that's already on the course, is going to be a gigantic course. I don't know anyone who's actually going to finish every little aspect of it. I think with Tableau, it's sort of like Excel. There's so much in there that no one on planet Earth could possibly know every single feature. It's just impossible. I just don't think it's possible. So with Tableau, it's the same thing. Learn what you need to solve the problem you're working on. But every now and then when you hear about a new technique, just knowing it exists is good, because, if you hear about a problem, you're like, oh, actually I heard about the solution. Let me look that up and apply it to this problem. So makes you more versatile. Now let's head back to this one. So here is kind of all the new topics and videos. So with Tableau, they release a major, I guess you can call it a major upgrade every 3 months, right? And that upgrade, and let me bring the page over, you can see that there is a lot. So within each one of these, like this is 2020.4. I'm not even up to this. I think I'm 2020.2, right? I think in this one, if we open it up, there's like, I don't know, 20 changes. Like, I mean, look how many changes that they've made, right? 2020.3. Right? And this is every quarter they're adding all sorts of new features and stuff. So I've gone through this and pick the ones that are probably the things that you're most likely going to run into. There are certain things that I think it's like, yeah, little tweaks and improvement, probably not a massive change to how we operate in Tableau, but there are some things that are really good. So I'll include that, plus new topics that people have requested. So we've got 2020 version changes. We're going to do way more on data blending. That is probably the data blending, and I'd say LOD, so level of detail calculations, it's probably the most requested thing from me. And in the original, in the course as it is now on Udemy, there's like 3 videos on level of detail and maybe like 3 or 4 on blending. So we're gonna do way more on these. Yes, way more. And if you're happy about that, in the comments, just write, I don't know what you can write. You can write whatever. Hashtag whatever you want, right? Hashtag whatever you want, if you are happy about that, because that is requested by everyone. I'm going to talk about cardinality. I'm going to talk about like trial periods and Tableau Public, which is a massive question as well. A lot of people who are just starting with Tableau don't want to fork out the, 1,000 something $100 after the 2-week trial period. So we're going to talk about some of those ways around that, so you can at least do your proof of concepts, possibly add Ultrix, Tableau Bridge, a lot more Tableau Online stuff, which kind of is making me think that I should just have an established Tableau Online that that I can use for teaching. I don't know. I'm still working that part out. What else? Visualization principles, Tableau art, pre-attentive cues, some animation, and some of the features from 2020.4. Some of the new things. So geospatial, using multi-layers, multi-marks now, site monitoring, Tableau prep in the browser. That's huge. That's huge. Because one of the biggest problems with Tableau prep is you can schedule it using Tableau Conductor, but for some reason it doesn't always work. So I think this is maybe their way of fixing that. I don't know yet. I got to look into it. I'm gonna do some predictive modeling. So there was some new stuff they added. I think it was like linear regression, a Gaussian function, and I think it was logistic. I've got it here. Logistic regression, I think was the other one. Oh, regularized linear regression. They haven't got logistic regression. So multi-block comments, prediction, forward, it's like I'm predicting how many time periods forward, web authoring, map support, Tableau prep, natural language processing, so a little more AI stuff, explain data, more AI stuff, site management, and this basically comes under data governance. We have buffer calculations, viz animation. So I'm still adding to this. You can see it's a lot. It's a lot. The previous one took me 6 months to put together, maybe 6 or 7 months, but that was building it from scratch. Now that I've got the core of the course, it's much easier because I know what I'm going to teach. right? I've already got it generally layered. It's a lot easier to build iPhone 2 than it was to build the iPhone 1, if that makes sense, right? And that is pretty much it. So I'm not going to get into it that much more. Um, what else do I have here? Additional topics. Yes, if you got more topics, just leave a comment down below. As many topics as you want. Go nuts. No matter how small, how big, case studies, whatever you want, let me know, and I will create as much content and knowledge to help you guys, not just over the next few weeks or months. This is hopefully lifelong. We're like partners for decades, So we'll see. Um, Oh, right. The last thing is, okay, so my Tableau course is usually priced at 130 dollars Australian, right? But this changes. I don't know why it sometimes changes. And then sometimes they'll do deals where it's like $15. I'd say 99.9% nobody really pays $100 or $50. Anyways, in my experience, for Udemy course as a majority. Generally speaking, most of my courses are purchased, $20, $25, $15. And a lot of that money, um, a little bit goes to just my fun, I'll buy video games or something like that. But a majority of it actually goes reinvested into the content itself because I gotta pay for the license, I gotta pay for the recording equipment. You can see here I've got like LED lights, I've got like webcams I gotta pay for, gear, hardware, software, all sorts of things to kind of keep this going. Also, things like Adobe Spark and licensing costs for the software I use is a kind of a big cost. YouTube licensing, YouTube extensions, and all that kind of stuff kind of adds up. So what I'm going to do is, and I'll release updates as I go along, is that when it gets to a certain stage where I've filmed a lot of new content, I'll release a promo link making it like, I don't even know how the promo works in Udemy anymore. Like as cheap as I can make it, right? Um, so I think it's like $10 US. I can't remember. I'm gonna have to look into it, but I'll do that. And then I'll publicize that on YouTube. So don't worry, you won't miss out. And I'll do it over a couple of days. So I don't want it to be a one-time thing. You miss out and then that's it. No, I don't think that's fair. So I will promote it for like a few weeks or something like that. Um, Letting everyone know it's like, listen, if you want to learn it, it's got heaps of new content, adding to it all the time, and that's it. So I don't want to go any further than that. So I hope you enjoyed and have a great Happy New Year, great celebrations. Please stay safe. And until then, bye.